Actually, I'm going to use the first 30 seconds of my talk and ask you to do me a favor. Because I know a lot about the brain, I know that sitting this long pools the blood. I can actually add 15% more blood flow to your brain if you were to stand. So please take 30 seconds and stand for a moment and stretch a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, now we're feeling better. Please sit down while I say bonjour, madame et monsieur. That's it. That's all. We're done. I've been a professor for a long time. I'm a professor emeritus now, and I work full-time on research as senior vice president of research and development for TTI, Target Training International. I understand they have a booth right out here. But I want to share with you some things today that I think are sort of exciting. I want to share that during my teaching, I always had a goal to go beyond the how and to go beyond the what and try to figure out why things happened. I think it's more important to get at the why. As a result of that, I have some lofty goals today for you. As a result of being together for 15 minutes, I don't think that any of us will ever be the same again. Because we're going to be growing dendrites and we're going to be doing things that change each of us. This talk is intended to be far more than informational. My goal is to be transformational, to really think about some things in ways we may have never thought of them before. I was a teacher and then a professor for 29 years. And during those years, I really focused on the why. I tried desperately to focus on the why. And I thought I was pretty good, actually, at what I did. And as a result, I actually got an award for the Outstanding Teacher Preparation Program in the nation. And Carl Sagan gave me this great big plaque in Washington, D.C. Great big ceremony. And my wife was seated in the front row right in front of us. She thought she was there, to participate. What I really wanted was a picture of me and Dr. Sagan. And so my wife had the camera, and she got a picture of us. She's never lived it down. Well, I came home with this lovely plaque, and eventually somebody said, well, what's different about your program? Why did you get an award? Because, see, colleagues don't really celebrate each other's awards. They're jealous, especially in universities. So finally, somebody said, maybe you should do a talk and tell us what you do. And so I had an opportunity to talk about the fact that I worked with students at a college, and I came to the conclusion that students did not understand self. That they came to the university and they took courses, but they didn't have any way of understanding self. And so I wanted them to understand something about their beliefs, their motivations, and some of their soft skills. And so I did a presentation to the faculty about the assessments I used and how I gathered this information on my students and taught them about self. And in the process, they learned about some of the things that motivate them, some of their beliefs that they have, beliefs that you have right now that are causing you to accept and reject comments that are made all day long. I talked about mindsets that people have, and I talked about what motivates us, what causes us to want to do what we do. And I did my presentation, and I'll never forget the department chair standing, and he said, and this is a quote, "We do not use tarot cards for making decisions." So we're not going to use assessments. We're not going to gather information because they're self-reported and they could be wrong. You have no evidence that those are correct. So my passion, my goal became, as a cognitive neurologist, can I prove that this stuff is real? I think that I was trying to approach problems that you all have as well. I believe that some of the problems we have with productivity is putting people in the wrong jobs. I think we have problems with retention and recruitment because we don't get the right people and then they leave. I believe that training, we give training to everybody when not everybody needs the same training. They need different training, but we don't know how to do that. And we have conflict that have to be resolved because we don't understand each other. We have different beliefs and motivators, and we don't understand that. We don't even understand our own. And we have negative workers among us that sort of spoil the whole department. These are problems that are real. I learned a new problem from some of you this morning, and that is that unions are very strong, and you better make the right decision to start with, because you're stuck with them. So there's another problem that maybe we need to be getting some evidence. So these questionnaires are self-reports. Is there any evidence that they work? So I go into my lab and I start working. This is me with a 256 neuron electrocap on, and I'm gathering EEG readings out of my head. And I get these lovely readings here, and I have things that flash on the screen, and then my brain reacts to it. And I capture what that reaction is. And so it's sort of like Harry Potter. You see, underneath that hat, the sorting hat, was an EEG neuronet. And it was really reading his subconscious thoughts. His thoughts before he even made a decision were being read. And I believe that knowledge of self is empowering if we understand what we're doing. So I want to pull back the curtain on decisions. I want to pull back the curtain on some of the things we do. The lab that we opened up was the Cognitive Applied Research Lab. And I think what's important in this picture is this image. This is a real-time image of his brain. And what we see is this red part is a major activation in the prefrontal cortex at a gamma wave activity. Not important, but the bottom line is I can read thoughts. And I can read thoughts whether they're positive or negative. And in this case, he's got a very strong response, and the brain is looking at you, so it's on the right side. We'll talk about what that means in a moment. So asymmetry is in the literature, and all I'm doing is captivating on that. So we have this patent that came out that we were able to patent worldwide, including Europe, the process that I'm about to show you. Imagine this image, and if we were to pull back and see what the brain looks like with that kind of image, what you would see is this, sort of no asymmetry. A neutral reaction. What about this one? A happy person, having fun. And all of a sudden, we get the left side responding and getting a left acceptance. And of course, this picture. All right, you're ready for this one? Here's what happens when you look at that. Right side. It's exciting to see this data. Let's go over this for real quick. Here's a neutral reaction. Here is a person that it flashes on the screen and it says peaceful, tranquil. And the reaction to that is a left side reaction. It's a positive reaction. That describes them. The next picture is a picture of my brain. So the question was obedient. And you see which side the brain lit up? The right side lit up. I got a little problem with obedience. I'm not real obedient. Probably good to know. How about this one? Correct spelling. Somewhere in there we usually throw in their name, correctly spelled and misspelled. Here's the correct spelling. And we get the left side. Here's the wrong spelling. No, that's wrong. Don't do that to me. I lose publications that way. People spell my name wrong. Smoking. Non-smoker. Beautiful reaction. Negative reaction to smoking. But here's a smoker. And it's on the left side. Here's the problem, folks. This is a belief. This is a subconscious. I'm capturing this at less than a 30th of a second from the time they saw the word smoking. And their brain goes, smoking, yay! And now they're going to stop smoking? They need to realize their subconscious is making decisions. As much as 95% of our decisions are made at the subconscious level. And then we justify what we decided. All right? So here's, this was interesting. Guy comes in and he says, my wife says I treat my biological daughter differently than I do my stepson, and I don't. I treat them all the same, and it's not fair that she accuses me of that. So I said, well, let's have some fun. We'll just look at your brain. Daughter's name flashes up. There's the reaction. There's a little bit of a left side, emotional on both sides, but it's a pretty positive reaction. Then stepson. Stepson is a person that lives upstairs. That's about all you can say about him. There's no reaction really, and if anything, there's a negative reaction. Knowledge is power. His brain is not lying. He needs to think about that reaction. I want to show you the first experiment that we ran. In one of our assessments, DISC, our DISC has 4 items you have to rank from 1 to 4. So they fill out the survey and they rank it 1 to 4, and then you see the ranking here. Bold, daring was number 1, and careful and calculating was number 4. Then I take them into the lab and I capture the brain images. for each of those words. And here's what's interesting, is you see here that bold and daring is a left hemisphere reaction, dominant, that's accepting that concept. 2 and 3, neutral. They're just in the middle. Not really much of a reaction at all. But here's the cue. This is the exciting part. The exciting part is number 4. Careful. Calculating is a negative reaction. This is a person that is a can-do action person, but they're not a detail person. Their brain reacted to that immediately. We can actually align with about 84% accuracy, the brain and number 1. And I can align almost 100% on number 4. Why? Because of this. The pathways of decision making are far stronger for what you're not than what you are. When you go out to dinner tonight, to a new restaurant, you open the menu, and the very first thing you will do if you think about the decision-making process is you will decide what you will not eat. That's the first thing you do. Rejection and aversion drives our decision-making, and our assessments have to recognize that if you only look at what people are, you're really missing the driving forces, because there are words that turn people off. There are concepts that turn people off. Our beliefs are driving our decisions, and we need to understand the role of aversion. Brain activity baseline. This is a person who was diagnosed as chronically depressed. Notice the huge flare here. That's there all the time. This is not a reaction to a word or a concept. That is her baseline. It's right hemisphere, baseline, all the time. She's negative. And then we come in and we say, what's the most positive thing you could think of? And she says, chocolate chip cookies. And so in the assessment, we flash chocolate chip cookies, and here we have her reaction. Folks, it's still negative. That's as positive as she could get. So she's walking around seeing the world through a filter that is negative. And we can document that. Here's another one. She does not smoke, by the way. And here's her reaction to, beer. Yeah, she doesn't like beer either. Okay, she can't go to Germany. I want to show you something that's exciting. You see, you may have noticed something on my head that I have. We now have the ability, you don't have to come to my lab and do this. We're able to start collecting data in real time and looking at some of this stuff in real time. I want to show you what I'm collecting right now. And hopefully this will work. Okay, well, imagine it does move. All I'm doing is collecting EEG from 4 sensors across my head right here, all right? And it's getting that data all the time. In addition, I can also then, with this same instrument, I can actually look at my prefrontal cortex and see the activity, just like the images that I was showing you. I can start to get the same kind of imaging out of here. Now, some of you are thinking, why do I need to know any of this? What's this have to do with me trying to hire people, train people, keep people? What's any of this got to do with it? Here's what it's got to do with it. Imagine what the world was like before we had mirrors. What did you look like? Was your tie straight? You didn't know. We have a new mirror, and we have to figure out what to do with it. We have the ability to pull back the curtain on decision making and look at what people are really believing and what's motivating them in some creative ways, and I think it's going to change the world, and that's very exciting. As a result, we're going to be able to look at some of this stuff. Here's a program that this came in last night, where we have a program where I can look at negative judgment, positive judgment, and negative and positive emotions. All of that at the same time. We're going to be able to put these on people and actually look at their brain while they're working in teams. And we'll see the actions. We'll be able to see, and we'll get people to understand that you can control your brain just like your arms and legs, that you can actually work and reduce brain activity. This is a person, a heavy meditator, and they can change their brain activity with heavy meditation. The science of self and the science of awareness of self is a very empowering concept. When you know something, you can change it, you're in control. When you don't know it, you have no control. I'm believing that your productivity can be enhanced when we match people to the right job. I believe that recruiting and retention can be enhanced when we know the skills and the background of the whole person that we're working with. I believe that we can isolate on the training that needs to be done for individuals, and rather than training everybody to do everything. And conflict resolution, when we understand what motivates us, and our negative workers that have that right brain flare all the time need to be dealt with. So the takeaway message is that self-reports really do work. There's real data coming out of your brain, and that activity is sort of cool. Imagine in the future, you walk up in the morning and the last thing you do is look in the mirror, but you put on this device. And it says prefrontal cortex asymmetry within acceptable levels. If time allows, it's recommended you arrange for 30 minutes of EEG Z-score training to lower the beta output in your right prefrontal cortex and increase alpha symmetry. Have a nice day.